Fireworks waiting on the edge of the night. Stars over Mossy Creek burning bright. Freedom Bash, come gather round. We're still putting culture in the ground. Raise a jar, raise a glass. Here's to the ones who make things last. No shortcuts here, no borrowed dreams. Just hard work, living in the seams. Turn it loose, strike the spark. Build tomorrow after dark. Freedom to build, freedom to try, freedom to fail and still get it right. Freedom to live, freedom to build. Pass it along so the whole world knows. We're still growing. Tennessee hills and a lab-like glow.
Hello, and welcome. I am a mess. I'm sweaty and I am greasy. Well, Myco Nerd, that is weird. It says that you're on here, and then my audience is one. That doesn't make sense. There's more than one person. That is okay. Whatever. I'm not gonna pay attention to the analytics anymore. It never is right. So hopefully you guys don't mind me grabbing a little bit of toast and stuff and drinking a Coke while starting this stream, because for literally like a minute, I just ran in here and jumped on stream because we were out there selling fish and plants. I don't know why. All day, nothing. And then we had a customer come up and pick up a bunch of ready to fruit blocks and some all-in-one bags. Yeah. And then had a customer come in and pick up a bunch of fish and snails. And then a customer come in and buy a bunch of plants. So it's been busy, been kind of crazy. I'm a little frazzled. So we'll get there. We'll get there. What's up, nerd? Hope you're doing well today. I am. I'm doing excellent. It's always nice to, sell plants and fish and mushrooms. So, story of my life these days. I'm a mushroom, fish, plant slinger. I better not be slinging fish. I mean, they probably don't appreciate it, but I don't know. Haven't you seen those fish cannons? They shoot fish into a lake. They drop fish out of airplanes into lakes and stuff. Thank you, nerd. Are you likewise staying busy? What's up with you? Anything new in the nerdhood? The nerddom? I hope things are going well. Tell you what fish species? We're selling Medaka, the rice fish. So the Japanese rice fish. That's our primary seller. I did sell 2 goldfish today. I don't keep a lot of goldfish in stock because other places have them. And they're not my favorite fish. I do keep them because people want them. So I sold 2 of them just now to the goldfish. And then the rice fish, I sold 4 of those. And another thing about the rice fish is I can keep like a bunch more in the same setup. So, like a 300-gallon tub will raise me hundreds of rice fish. And the juveniles sell for about $10 a piece retail, and for the assorted. And then the goldfish I can sell for $6, but I can only fit maybe 100 juveniles in a tank, and then I have to sell them quick or they'll quickly outgrow it. So the rice fish to me are the better fish. Plus they overwinter outdoors, so they're basically like guppies, but they sell better, sell higher. They do better in ponds and that kind of thing. What's good, Mossy? Yeah, all the questions you want, you boats and hoes. So all the questions you want, like that's what I'm here for. This is free consults for people, anyone who wants it. All the questions you'll want. So you guys can ask me whatever you want to do. I'm going to take a picture real quick. There you go. And now I'm going to post that on Instagram to let people know that we're live. So, there we go. Hold on. I'm posting it. So, now live on Facebook and YouTube. Come get your questions answered. It's like a free consult. There you go. Hashtag keep spawning culture. Keep spawning culture. Oh, it definitely messed up there. Cool. Share. Interesting. All right, so that is now live. We're good to go. So ask all the questions you want. Boats. Decide I'm going to call you Boats just for the algorithm. What's growing on, King Mossy? How's it fungusing? It's fungusing great, Plum. I don't know if you saw the beginning, but we just had someone come in, pick up, I don't remember how many ready to fruit blocks, picked up a pickup load. And then right here, you can see this. This is the rest of his order that he's coming back to pick up, which is 120 all-in-one blocks. Oh, crap. I did not realize this came in already. I don't have, shoot, I meant to have that tub filling up the whole time. Well, all right. But yeah, I sold a bunch of, I had a person come in, buy a bunch of, they got a bunch of ready to fruit blocks, some all-in-one bags, some elixir, some spore kindler formula. And then we had some folks come in and grab some, a guy came in and bought some lilies and some floating plants. And then a lady came in and bought a bunch of fish and snails. So it's real busy. Like I got on here in a flurry. I'm looking to do an outdoor grow of Hericium and Pleurotus. So lion's mane and oysters. Not much of a yard, but was thinking possibly a greenhouse setup. Any tips on it? Or did it may have deleted your comment there, nerd. If you're asking for setups on a greenhouse, shade cloth. Make sure you get shade cloth for the summertime. If you're doing wintertime, I mean, what part of the world are you in, nerd? Like, are you in desert or are you in like a temperate area, a area that gets cold, stays hot? Just let me know and I'll go into more on that. Pin sets seem to be my biggest problem at the moment. I followed your recommendations with the 3 slip, flap, then lift, or lift and release. My temp is 79 to 80, tropic region, no AC. Humidity set at 90, 95. So you're having a hard time getting pin sets, or you're having a hard time with your pin sets dying off early? The temperature is pretty high. So with the temperature being high, you would, let's see, with the temp being that high, you may not be getting pin sets because of the temperature. You may have to switch to something more tropical. Pinks would definitely, pink oysters would definitely go in that heat. Your humidity is set a bit high. I'm not saying that you can't have your top end around 90, 95, but typically what you want is some way that you can control your humidity so that it has a ceiling and a floor. So you want to be able to go up to 95 and have it come down to 65 or something like that. If you're in the tropics, you're probably going to have a hard time getting it down to 65. Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. My temp is 79 to 80 degrees. Yeah, that's going to be pretty warm. So anything like a blue oyster, even a pearl oyster. A lot of even the Italians are going to struggle with that. Now, I've gotten my mother of pearl to fruit at that temperature, and it's a blue oyster that turns white. But it can be pretty difficult at those temperatures. Mushrooms like it cooler typically, even the ones that are from the tropics. But pinks and golds might do you pretty well. Some of the Italian oysters might do you well. Maybe that's like I said, that's 75 is kind of where I would kind of like. If you could do 65 to 79, I mean 65 to 75 Fahrenheit, that would be ideal. That'd get you the most species that you could grow at the same time. But where you're at, I would just stick with the warm weather species as much as possible. Pink oysters are the number one that's going to be right there, though your shelf life's going to be lower. And then you can try some of the warmer weather like oysters. So, like our Mossy Creek or Old Road. Old Road, I used to think was a better cool weather mushroom. Turns out it actually likes warm weather. There is a white oyster called Elm Z. That is a warm weather white oyster, and it's technically a tree oyster and not a true elm oyster, but it is an option. But it's not the best. It's kind of woody these days compared to some of the nicer strains. Business is good. It is good. It's not perfect. Business is not perfect. It is. I am not wealthy. I'm not rolling in the dough. I don't have my Scrooge McDuckian vault yet, or my bed made of gold, but I'm starting to be able to pay the bills again after being sick. And that is what it counts, right? In Detroit, Michigan, sorry, hard to message. I'm at work. No worries, man. No worries. Just message as best you can. As far as a greenhouse, shade cloth is going to be your best friend through the summertime. In the wintertime, you're probably not much you're going to have to do. I will say, as far as outdoor grows go, you don't want a gravel floor. So if you have gravel, you want to lime it really well, and then you want to put down a plastic tarp or some sort of seal, like a rubber matting or like a pond liner, something that's easy to clean. Because what you'll see typically is outdoors, everything will work great. But when you grow in the same area time after time after time, your pests start to build up. And one of the things that they love, like the fungus gnats, they love a wet ground that's kind of pitted, where they've got all these little recesses they can lay eggs in and get plenty of moisture. And so as time goes on, your gravel literally builds up millions and millions of fruit flies, mold spores, bacteria, which put off bacterial endospores. And every time you come through and take a step, in fact, the more dry it is at that point, you'll take a step and you'll not aerosolize, but you'll get that stuff launched into the air, the dust, and that's it's hard. It's crazy. What's up, Zero? Glad to see you, man. Foxy found a new map, by the way. That has been awesome. Feels like the old Battlefield. Plum, the dude from What the Fungus, Brian Callow, specialized in like the outdoor greenhouse grow. That's a great one. Go look up What the Fungus. He's got tons and tons of grows like that. I think he literally gets wood chips and gets his stuff in from like an arborist company or something like that. Though I think he shuts down in the wintertime. He's up in Canada. So they just do a seasonal grow. Which honestly, in my opinion, is one of the smartest things you can do. I like this idea of growing with the elements, making money, and then shutting down for the time. Because like back in the day, it was hard for me to make it through the summertime. My electric bill would double, and my yield would decrease because of the stress on the mushrooms. So I'd go from 1,000 pounds a week of mushrooms to 400, right? And the summertime I'd be growing 400 pounds. I had the same labor, if not more, because we had to clean more often. It was just everything was harder. And the last year that Samantha and I grew commercially, before we decided to go fully supply, we shut down for the summertime. Is it going to be pretty heavy? Honey, don't pick that up. You come talk to them, I'll pick it up. Samantha. Bad Samantha. How many do you have in there? It's just how many is it? No, not how many pounds. Tell me how many bags are in there. 8 bags. Okay, if it's only 40 pounds, that's fine. I know you can, Samantha. I'm happy to do it for you. Can you discuss the benefits of powdered reishi versus reishi spores? I.e., does the fruiting body have all the cancer-fighting goodies of spores? Jonathan, I don't actually know on that question. But I can try to find out for you. I have seen where people take reishi spores like out in China and stuff, but I have never, unless it's for breeding purposes, I've never harvested reishi spores. So, let's see. So the fruiting body should have all the cancer-fighting goodies of the spores. The mushroom is. In fact, I don't see why the mushroom body, it probably has that and more because that's where all the spores are produced. So if I had to guess, just from a logics perspective, that would be the logical. That would be the conclusion to me, until I did some sort of testing. But we can look it up. I mean, spores have health benefits. So, reishi spores are highly valued in traditional practices and studied for several health benefits, similar to the rest of the reishi mushrooms. These reproductive cells are packed with active compounds, supposedly immune support, antioxidant action, stress reduction, liver production. Spore walls, the outer shell of a reishi spore is very hard. That's what I was thinking. Is that the reishi spores are not going to be very bioavailable. You got to crack it. While highly popular in holistic medicine, many of these health benefits still lack large-scale clinical trials. Reishi may increase the risk of bleeding if you take blood thinning medication, have an autoimmune disease, or preparing for surgery. You should avoid reishi unless guided by a doctor. I have noticed that my blood pressure goes down, so. Let's see. So my guess is the fruit. I still think I'm going to lean fruiting body here because the fruiting body is made of mycelium and will be more bioavailable. But you can still crack the spores, I think, and be able to get both. The individual pins are very spaced out, so you're not getting a good. What's your substrate, Boats? Because it sounds to me like you might need to make your hole a little smaller then. And what you may be getting is heat stressed mushrooms. So they're kind of getting sparse and whatnot. Because around 80 degrees, you're going to start seeing some heat stress. Most gourmet mushrooms are going to want cooler weather. So if you can get the milky Samantha, the flap is open. You can't put it on there. God, you worry me. You worry me. What? You shut my flap? Did you tell me to shut my flap? Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Pinks and elms can handle heat. Oh yeah, elms. Yeah, so yeah, the elm Z. Though, if you mean like a regular elm oyster, I haven't grown a regular elm oyster like the species since maybe the second year I was growing mushrooms. Now the Elm A and the Elm Z. The Elm Z is just a heat tolerant Elm A, but the Elm A and Elm Z are a Pleurotus austriatus, so not a true elm. They're not a hypzygous, and they are. It's the Elm Z is pretty heat tolerant. Like I've grown that up to about 90 degrees, and that one worked. But the Elm A is not nearly as heat tolerant. So just kind of depends which elms you mean. But yeah, if if you've grown elms recently, you've got more experience with them than I have. I've started pinks and golds and coral tooth. Nice. Yeah. So I've got a pink breeding program going on. So I've got a pink breeding program, a gold breeding program, and a brown, the Italian or the pulmonarius breeding program. So the pulmonarius is about to hit fruiting blocks, and the pinks, I just shook the masters today. Oh, look, it's all organized. And the golds, I have to hit with the next, because the gold program is actually a mutagenic breeding program, right? It's a program where I'm using mutagens to, I'm mutating and then breeding. So, Mr. Timbabwe. Hi, Andrew. What's your opinion on the larger oyster bags, like the 1836? Which ones are you talking about? Like, is it a unicorn bag? Or are you talking about the, oh, is that the big black cubes? 18 inch by 36 inch. That'd be pretty, about 3 foot would be about like that. That's pretty good size. 18 inch would be about that. So, talking about that wide, that big. I mean, how tall would that be? But if you're talking the cubes, I think they're awesome. That's typically what's, I think, known as the Dutch method. If I could be wrong about that, but I've seen that in Europe a lot, and they basically compress the block and then wrap it in plastic and then perforate it with a series of blades. It looks super cool. I mean, it just I like it. I mean, it sounds like it's a lot less labor intensive, because the fewer times you can do an action, the better it's going to be on your labor bill. Pardon me. So, I mean, I'm genuinely for them. I just I've never had any experience growing on the larger bags. Now, if you're just talking about like the unicorn bags, I'm not sure that I've seen those. Now, I recently used the Horizon filter patch bags, and those work pretty well. I would want anything that I'm going to fruit in the bag, I'd probably switch over to the Horizon filter patches. So I had an elm that fruited at almost 100 degrees. I made the mistake of not taking care of the mycelium and lost the strain. Do you know where you got it, or was it a wild one? Because if that was a wild one, that's a womp womp. Womp womp. But I mean, some of those strains can get really resistant to stuff. I mean, just got home from work. Well, nice. Look like you're having a good day at work. Or was that yesterday when you were showing me the nice cars? Thanks for all the tips. You're very welcome, nerd. I hope it helps, man. Yeah, I mean, I hope that helps a lot. Thanks, Plum. Queen Mossy is strong. Did you hear that, Sam? Nope. I'll tell her what you said, Plum, when she gets back. Thanks. Yeah, all the studies are with spores for some reason. That's interesting. I've not seen the spores much. I think that's more of an Asian thing. I'm not sure. Maybe that could be done elsewhere in the world. In the United States, there's a huge thing right now about whether mycelium is better, or it makes me want to make a Adam Sandler meme where it's like, the shampoo is better, but it's the mycelium is better. No, the fruit body is better. Plum said, Queen Mossy is strong. Dang, look at those guns, actually. Do that again. My goodness, honey. I didn't realize your biceps were like that. Good grief. I see you every day, and I hadn't even noticed that your biceps are like that right now. We're pretty thick. 85, so you're 35 short. Did you already unload the autoclave? Okay, so you're just filling it up again? Nice. Yeah, I saw you got a whole shelf of grain spawn to ship. We got to take it to the bag milker. I got it from Eric Myers. That's how we collapse the bags down. Plum, I'll get to your thing in a second. I should show you guys this thing that I got from. It's actually really cool. It's like Samantha's favorite tool, and Ben Dooling's the one that told me about it. And pretty much if Ben Dooling says something, like he was like the very first student I ever had, and he is now one of the best mushroom farmers I know. There we go. So there's Myers mushrooms. Don't get your bagger from Myers mushrooms. I love you, Eric, but then your bagger is great. Don't get your bagger from Eric. Get it from Ben at Man of War. But this thing, where is it? That's a spawn bagging machine. It's just a single, and Ben's about to make one, I think, for 2,000. Maybe one day. I don't know. Actually, he probably isn't. I don't know. Who knows? There it is. Okay, the bag deflator system. I call it the bag milker. I mean, look at that. That looks like... Oh, come on. What? Well, whatever. It won't let me. This thing is awesome. Oh, look, I did it. Okay, it just took forever. So, see, doesn't that look like... For those of you guys who've ever been on a dairy farm, isn't that crazy? Okay. That's not helpful. There we go. Ow! I don't like technical difficulties. All right. So the one that we had, I think we got the large one. And that was, it helps us deflate stuff, but it also keeps stuff. So this has made shipping spawn a lot easier recently, but it's also made it to where, like you can absolutely just, excuse me. You can, like, it comes with the vacuum. It comes with the everything that you need, and it makes deflating the bags super easy. When you deflate them, it ends up making it to where the bags don't fruit for a lot longer, and so it allows the spawn. Like the problem that we've always had with spawn is that some stuff will fruit while we're still waiting for other stuff to grow in, and this thing helps. So if you can collapse them down, they also pack better in the boxes. And then they are easier to stock in a walk-in or refrigerator. So.
You don't have to open it to collapse the which I really like, and the fact that I don't have to sit there and spend time sealing, and I can literally deflate 4 bags at the same time while walking away and doing something else, and then coming back and just spending it on others.
Right. Hopefully you guys heard her because I don't remember everything she said. Where are you going now? What if I need help remembering? No problem, Maiko. Andrew can tell you anything you need to know about growing, but sometimes it's easier to emulate someone else that does what you want to do. That's true. And that's why we need more people posting what they're doing. So, much thanks. You're very welcome, Jonathan. Jonathan B. You're very, very welcome. King Mossy, what type of mushroom grows best on wood chips and garden beds? The two, well, which one grows best? Or which one do I think is most useful? We'll go with best first. Pretty much any of them will grow. I mean, oysters will probably grow best, but if you, like, it kind of depends what you mean best. You'll get a huge yield from oysters. But I don't like them in beds. They get disgusting. So, brick tops are a great way to go. But if it's in a garden bed, like you specified, I would say wine cap or almond agaricus. So wine caps, you're going to get a spring fall harvest. The almond agaricus, you're going to get a lot warmer harvest. Actually, I'm glad you said that because I've got 2 bags of spawn I need to put in a couple of the terrestrial spent mushroom substrate beds here. And then I've got to expand another one out for a fella coming down next week for an order. So, but he wants it on sawdust, not grain, and I've got it in grain. But the almond agaricus is one of my favorites. Like the spawn alone, That's such like there are some mushrooms that are just a joy to work with because as you're inoculating in front of the hood, you get that smell blown back in your face. And like a really good sweet smelling oyster is good. Shiitake, depending on if it's a Koshin or Danko variety, but the Koshin tend to be my favorite. They're the most fragrant, and a good shiitake will have your mouth watering while you're doing it. But the almond agaricus, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like pouring a bag of almond agaricus spawn. Wine cap doesn't really smell that good to me. It's kind of an astringent smell. Hericium never smells good to me. Pouring it, I love growing Hericium. I just can't grow it much anymore. What's up, Teddy? You always know. What is it like? You just hear me out over here talking. You get out of bed and you decide to come over here. So, anyways, oh, hold on. There we go. The almond agaricus is the one I would probably go for. First thing. The wine cap would be probably the second, and maybe I would do one bed of wine cap and one bed of almond agaricus. And that way I could have both. I could have a spring and fall flush with a nice summer flush in the middle. But there's not very many mushrooms that want to grow when your garden is at its height. There's not that many mushrooms that really are going to take advantage of that, the heat, the way the plants are. And I like the almond agaricus because it'll grow. I learned that from Two Angels Mushroom Farm. They started growing. They would do melons, and then they do wood chips under the melons, and they would do almond agaricus under that, and then they would just have the almond agaricus comes up in huge clumps for them. So CVG, if it's just CVG is coco coir, vermiculite, and gypsum. Is that right? Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get the best results off coco coir. Coco coir is just empty calories. If it kind of depends on what mushroom you're growing. So coco coir will grow some nice active mushrooms like cubensis or something. But most of the other stuff, coco coir is pretty subpar. You want something like something really woody, and that's going to do you better. Also, your supplementation, you can up the nutritional content of coco coir by supplementing with a grain or a hull or a bean or something like that. You're going to aim for your total dry substrate to be around 4.5% protein. 4.5 to 5% protein is pretty good. Maybe up to 8% or something like that on some things. But if you're doing anything like oysters, you're going to have to supplement coco coir. Hey, Dish. Welcome to the stream, buddy. Plum, what groups of people began cultivating mushrooms first? I assume the Chinese. I don't know the answer to that for real. And I don't know that anybody truly knows the answer to that. Now, I mean, it also kind of depends on what you mean by grow. So, like, were people, did like Otzi the Iceman was found with, 3 or 4 different types of mushrooms on him? Was that just forage? Did they perhaps, move patches around? Otzi the Iceman is pretty old, and that's a pretty good distance away. You all right? Here I got right here. If you need a bam, that's $40. So anyways, I don't really know. I mean, we can ask Google and see what Google says. But who were the first people to grow mushrooms? People in ancient China were the first growing mushrooms on purpose, dating back to 1,000 years. Farmers grew the woodier mushroom during the Tang Dynasty by putting steamed plant pieces on logs. Around 800 years ago, they also began growing shiitake mushrooms. Later in 17th century France, gardeners near Paris accidentally grew button mushrooms in their melon beds. The French were the first in the Western world to farm mushrooms deliberately. They grew them in dark, damp underground caves. So that would be the official history there. So I guess it really just depends on. I mean, like also we don't have like good evidence from hunter-gatherer days. So making use of mushrooms is ancient. That's probably human more than it is any one people type of human. But Chrissy Stormborn, welcome. Oh, I know my phone almost fell up. Let me silence that real quick. But yeah, I mean, it's good to have you, Chrissy. It's good. Hold on a second. I'm trying to. I am sorry. All right. So, I really don't know who the first would have been, but I'm sure, again, like I said, that growing mushrooms is probably older than we think, but it is also the well, like foraging, like they're kind of like when people talk about the early America, when people came over, the Europeans came over, we didn't recognize a lot of the agriculture that was going on potentially as agriculture, and so now we're finding out about the terra preta soils and how was the Amazon a man-made garden? Is this a technology that we didn't recognize because it was in a different form from what we considered technology? And I wonder if that's the same for mushrooms. I kind of feel like that's maybe the way is like current humans always seem to think past humans, didn't know as much. I'm as the older I get, the more I'm starting to think that may not have been the case. Isn't it an attachment? Talking about the Eric Myers thing. It is. It comes with the vacuum. It comes with everything when you buy it. I don't think he sells it without the vacuum. But you might be able to talk to him about the like to get it and just get it from the part that goes on the hose on. If you've already got a vacuum, but you want a vacuum for that alone because you don't want it to be dirty. You want a perfectly clean vacuum. Monsteros. Hello, you mentioned using mutagens on yellow oysters. Can you elaborate on this process? Sure. Yeah, let me grab something and I'll show you what it is, huh? Sure. You want to get the lamp, my mutagen lamp, my UV lamp. It's not scary to touch it. It's not scary. Samantha's scared of everything. She's got guns bigger than mine. Like her biceps are bigger than mine, and she's scared of stuff.
Not true at all.
I don't know. I don't think my biceps are very big. Like, here, put your biceps next to mine. Thank you. Put your bicep next to mine. That's why I hate it the way it was. There. Look, her biceps are bigger than mine. Damn, woman. I picked her so we could make dwarven children, and it worked. All right. So what she was talking about is this right here. Just UV. Actually, is that reversed for you guys the way it is? This is just runes for UV. And then I put a paint pen radiation symbol on there, but just so people get it. So this is a UV. You want UVC is the light. And I got it like this. So come on, I just need you to go a little bit higher. All right. So I can't get it to go any higher. I don't know why this is. Okay. So what I'll do, because a lot of you want to create this is really bright. You don't want to touch these light bulbs. They don't do well with oil on them. You can crack the glass and stuff because they'll heat unevenly. So they got these air pathways and stuff in them. But this is UVC, and UVC is the sterilization. this will damage your DNA. So if you're using, this is the best mutagen that there is. There are chemicals that you can use. I'm not a fan of using the chemicals. I don't suggest anyone use the chemicals. You got to have really good, proper PPE and a good setup to keep that. The mutagens can cause cancers, which is why UV light causes cancer, skin cancer in us and stuff. So now what you would do is put a dish. You want it not very far away. And then I put this, the control on a timer, and I'll set the timer, and then I'll walk away. A really good basic timing scenario is 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 8 seconds. Now, I'm going to explain what that means here in just a second. But you can just buy a lamp and some UV bulbs. I have spare ones back here. And the UVC is the best one to use. It is what you can use it to sterilize surfaces as well, though I rarely do that. I usually just sanitize with alcohol. Now, what a kill curve is, what you are trying to find is excuse me. So a kill curve is something more like in fact, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can pull up an illustration. I should have an illustration made up. Okay, so let me get this screen share up. I hate how it does that. It makes me do 3 extra steps every time. Okay. An antibiotic kill curve is a test used to find the exact amount of antibiotic needed to kill untransfected cells. Scientists run this test before making stable cell line cells that contain a new inserted gene. Because cell types react differently to antibiotics, researchers must find the lowest dose that completely clears all unmodified cells. Okay, so where's the images? So can you see that? Yes, okay. You have minimum concentration that kills all transfected cells, percent of survival of cells. Let's just forget all the terminologies there. What you're looking for is basically this point right here. So if you are using UV, you're going to find what is the minimum concentration that kills all of the cells. Now, to do this, you're going to make a spore solution. You don't want to do dry spores. You want to have them suspended in the liquid, and like not modal, but movable. So what I will typically do is make a spore solution in a centrifuge tube, and then I will use an agitator to agitate that somehow. It could just be shaking it, could be rocking it back and forth. It could be, they make literal vortex mixers that you can just push down. You push it down in the little slot, and it up against your finger, and it creates a vortex inside. That's a great way to go. So you vortex that stuff up all to mix it, the spores, and then you're going to pour a very thin layer into a sterile petri dish, and then you're going to put it under the lamp, as close to the lamp as you can get it, without the lamp touching, obviously. But you also don't want the lamp like right on it. You just want it maybe, you want an even field, because you don't want any area that is more concentrated light than the rest. And then you're going to run that for 3 seconds. Okay. Then you'll do another dish for 5 seconds, and then another dish for 8 seconds. Now, if you have done this effectively, and again, the time is something you have to figure out, but you'll put droplets on a petri dish, let's say, from that. And as you do the droplets on the petri dish, you'll use a cell spreader or shake the dish or whatever to spread that out so that you get colonies that form. What you will hopefully find is that 3 seconds, you get a ton of colonies. So you had almost no spore death whatsoever. But you probably also won't have much in the way of mutations. Apparently, 3 seconds wasn't really enough to do anything. And then 5 seconds, you'll see, like 3 seconds, you might have seen a tiny amount of die off. 5 seconds, you're looking to see die off. And what that means is there will be things, if you've had a good chunk of them die, then the rest of them hopefully have cell damage, DNA damage. And then in 8 seconds, you want there to be almost no colonies whatsoever. There might be the random few that get out there, but a lot of times those that do survive the 8-second blast are going to be, well, they're just not going to be very good typically. They're probably going to be full of bad mutations. So now you'll select, whichever ones seem interesting to you. Let's say that you go all the way up to 8 seconds and you don't see much of a die-off. Then you either need to increase the intensity of the light or you need to increase the duration of the time. And that gets you your kill curve. What you're looking for is where, at what point does everything die off? And at what point is there no visible, damage, notable damage? And then where is the sweet spot that is a decent amount of damage, but enough life left in it, and not so damaged that it can still work, compete, whatever. Then you have to go through and grow every single one of those strains out to see if there's a mutation. And there will be mutations that you cannot see, things that affect metabolism, growth, weight, textures, structures, smells, all this kind of stuff, right? So not all mutate, like there's a lot of DNA and you have to damage just the right amount to get a different color or shape. So what you'll find is that a lot of times these spores will actually mate and form colonies. And then you'll have your damage done will make it to where they're not very long lived, or they lose the ability to fruit, or they lose a key part of their metabolism or something that allows them to just compete well, and they just won't. So when you're working with mutagens or mutations and inducing mutations in general, you're just going to have to realize that most of them are bad, and to get a good one takes a lot of work. It's a lot of just filtering through over and over and over and over and over again. So that is my elaboration on that process. I hope it worked out downstairs, because that's usually, UV is usually the best way to go. It's the safest to be around, though I will say there's danger in that as well. You guys have to be very careful with UV. It can cause skin cancer. It can cause blindness in your eyes. It can cause a lot of problems. So you have to work with that very safely. Again, I set mine up on a timer and I put it in a light box, and then I set everything up, and then I close the light box and I turn on the timer. And then I do that again, and then again for the 8 seconds. And per batch, like you'll have to, if you want to be really sure, you might do anywhere from 3 seconds to 12 and 15 seconds or whatever. So now you can do mycelium, but the problem is if you've got mycelium growing and you've got multiple fibers, hyphae of the mycelium growing, if this one's blocking the UV from these down here, then only the top is going to receive that damage. Or in order to induce the mutations down below, you're going to kill the mycelium on top. So you want that mycelium as thin as possible to induce mutations in the mycelium directly. Not all mutations are going to show up in germ cells. A germ cell is a filial cell, filial meaning like the sexual exchange. So sperm and eggs in mammals, that's our germ cells. Spores, germ cells in fungi. Pollen and the ovum in plants, that's the germ cells, right? Now, if a plant gets a mutation, or let's say like I get a patch of skin cancer right here, that's not down in my germ cells, right? So I'm not going to pass that on. I might pass on whatever underlying propensity I had for skin cancer, but I'm not going to pass that direct mutation, because it's only affecting this cell line. That, I'll get a cancerous cell, and then that cell will divide and replicate and grow, and that is a cell line, right? That would be Andrew Reed variant arm cancer, whatever, you know. So, but that doesn't mean that I would spread that to my children. So if you're doing that to the mycelium, you don't necessarily get that mutation as something that you can pass on down the line. That's why we do the spores the way I was talking about, is that because you're directly affecting the germ cells, and therefore every mutation that you have after that should be inheritable. That's not 100%, which nothing with fungi is ever 100% because fungi are weird. In fact, probably nothing's ever 100% total, but yeah, Monsters, I hope that helps you. If you got any more questions, I'd love to talk about it. It's one of my favorite subjects. So part 4, I'm getting half a pound per 5 pound block. That's not great. Yeah, you should be getting 1.5 pounds. You need to add some more nutrition in there is my guess. And with CVG, you probably want something a little less easy to eat. Some sawdust, wood chips, maybe some whole grains, or something like like a lot of cubensis and stuff will grow on CVG just fine. And it's because as far as white rot fungi go, white rot are the ones that can break down lignin. So the substance that's found in woody material. Cubensis, for example, is not really evolved to break down a lot of lignin. Maybe some straw and dung, because like the tracts, the digestive tracts of cattle and other ruminants, they're going to break down, and the bacteria and the things in their gut are going to break down a lot of the celluloses and hemocelluloses that are available. And what's left a lot of times is the lignin. You'll see that in like a pile of horse poo, right? Horse manure, is that you'll see strands of straw still in there. Well, that straw has been robbed of about most of the cellulose and hemocellulose that was freely available, and the lignin needs to be broken down. And cubensis is already basically it's that. It's like I like this really rich material that I can dig into with a little bit of the lignin breakdown. But a lot of the wood lovers they produce a lot of lignase, right? So they're able to. Did I say that right? But anyways, they break down the material a lot better. So I would try to move to a woodier substrate. But yeah, I would definitely try a supplement as well, depending on what your pasteurization circumstances are like, your ability to pasteurize or sterilize material. Did you ever try those compostable bags? I tried them and they were horrible. The unicorn ones, they were never truly compostable. They were oxo-degradable. They kept saying it kind of pissed me off. And I did not try them because I did not want microplastics being produced. And that's why I didn't like them selling them as compostables. Oxo-degradable, they would break down via oxidation over time, and it would break down into ever smaller fragments of plastic. To which the guy that was pushing them so hard back in the day was like, they're compostable or oxo-biodegradable. And I was like, that's not a thing. If they're oxo-degradable, then they are. He's like, they would break down small enough that the bacteria could envelop them. And I'm like, that's exactly what we don't want. That's called microplastics, because as the bacteria eats up that plastic and incorporates it in, then something like a snail comes by and eats up all the bacteria and then concentrates all that microplastics into it, and then so on and so on up the food chain. So I would rather not have oxo-degradable stuff in my compost, so I never use them. But I heard horror stories from a lot of people about how they'd get brittle, they would break, they would bust. They just weren't great bags. So all the Publix in Alabama are doing buy one get one free on all ball jars. Picked up 12 quart jars for $10. That's a good deal. Buy one get one is a great deal for jars. And I've actually back to using a lot of jars, not just for liquid culture. I make almost all of my grain masters in jars now. Since we've been shutting down the spawn program and we're just fulfilling all the outstanding orders on the spawn. I do so many different strains. I don't need a 5-pound bag of something. I need 5 1-pound jars. That gets me 5 trials, because I can do, a couple of fruiting blocks per grain spawn jar, and that's really all I need. At this point, is I need as many different types of mushrooms, not as much of one type as possible. So I've gone back to the jars, and even I use the micropose peel and stick filters over a jar lid that's got a hole punched in it. That's been the easiest way. And I just reuse that jar lid a few times and replace the peel and stick filter. It's been over 100-degree heat index here in North Carolina. That's what we had last week. Last week here in East Tennessee, we had feels like 110, and that, gosh, it was so miserable. I had to put a tent up over the tilapia tanks, because the water was shower hot all the way down to the bottom, and it didn't seem to stop the tilapia, and that's fine, but the rice fish, it would definitely hurt. And so I started putting tents up to shade stuff throughout the day. That was actually my dad's idea. Thank you. That's super informative. You're very welcome, man. I hope you've got more questions about that stuff, because, again, I like the mutagens, I like the breeding, I like all that stuff. So, in fact, I've had, well, I can talk about that stuff later. That's a whole other land of weeds to get lost in. Does this intentional UV mutation work with plants as well? I think so, but I think that plants have protections against UV, for obvious reasons. So the biggest thing would be, if you're going to do it with plants, you probably want to do it to the pollen. That's probably the easiest way, is to UV blast pollen, but that's a little bit harder to know whether or not you're getting the mutation, because the kill curve can't be proved easily. You can do it to the ovum. That's one thing. Another that I considered was doing what's called embryonic rescue, but instead of rescuing it, so like embryonic rescue would be like, let's say I've got a bunch of seeds. They're old. They no longer have the strength to open the seed shell anymore, the outer layer. So you might go and you might sanitize your seed in alcohol, or a bleach mix or something like that, and then rinse it off, and then get it in front of a flow hood and use sterile tweezers or forceps to crack the seed open, or even pliers. I've seen people use sterile pliers. But you crack it open and pull that seed coat off, and then you open there's a little interior germ, and you want to get to that. And maybe you could UV blast the seed germ, but, if it's a big one, like an acorn or walnut or, something pretty substantially large, I don't know if the UV would do well. So that would be something we need to read into. I know UV light will eventually kill plant material, and therefore it'll probably mutate it. But whether or not you can get anything more than spot mutations, you're going to have to. There's going to have to be a pollen or ovum source is probably the best, in my opinion. But I've not done the UV mutation work with plants, and it's probably a little easier to work with the chemical mutagens with plants, but I don't really know that for sure. So again, before looking into anything with mutations, mutagens, whatever, you want to make sure that you really understand how it causes the mutations. You want to understand how to properly handle it. You want to understand a lot of different things before you just start wildly throwing around mutagens, including UV light. What temperature affect how a mutation will happen? So temperature will help you. Okay, so there's a couple of different thoughts on this, and I've not done any of these, but when you have fungi and you want to do decaryoticization, so it means taking a dikaryon, a complete adult, sexually mature mushroom bearing species, and you want to basically unzip its DNA and create 2 monokaryons again, you go through a process called dedekaryotization. I'm not like super in love. Like I'm in love with the idea of it, but I've seen very few people who claim to have good results with it publish any actual results with it. So I've seen people, I've heard of people building mono libraries and stuff, and by using this process, so they're taking some of the best commercial genetics, let's say, and trying to run it through decaryonization and unzip it and then store the monos and build these libraries so that they can reverse engineer people's strains. And I love the idea, because at that point you can do an exploratory breeding model and then come up with all these phenotypes, performance, based genetics, and you could unzip those and then start crossing those with everything. And it's already proven out that, that it works. But my understanding is that it's been pretty meh. Like the results have been pretty meh. So now that said, I've not really done much of it. I'm trying to remember his name. I feel like there's a guy named Julian something that was working a lot with that. Anyways, the point being that part of the process in this method is to basically cause the stress that's supposed to create the decaryotization, and then temperature shock it. And this is also a method when you're trying to do protoplast fusion, is that you will perform the procedure and then you will temperature shock it. And most of the time I see it in is dark and heat. So you have all these methods where people want to do like horizontal gene transfer, where you'll take 2 strains of two strains of mushrooms. You'll take the mycelium and you'll try to strip the cell walls using some sort of agent. So some people back in the day, people used like snake venom. Anyways, the whole point is that you're trying to mix 2 different groups of DNA in here, strip the cell wall. From my understanding, a lot of people have started using either freezing to burst the cell walls. So you want it to freeze quick enough that it freezes quickly, slow enough that it swells the water inside the cells and actually bust the cell walls open. Could have sworn I heard somebody open the door. And then you would take that soup, right? And you'll have it on a plate and you'll put it in a incubator in the dark at a really high temperature for the mushroom. So something like 90 degrees or so, or more, 96 or something. I can't remember the exact temperature. That'd be Fahrenheit, not Celsius. And the idea is that the mushroom is kind of like, the way I always imagine it in my mind is like it's blindly hurt and it's just groping around for whatever parts it can grab to piece itself back together. And by doing so, it's picking up other DNA that's just spilled out. And something flying in your cup. And the idea there is that the heat stress keeps it from making the right decisions, and therefore you get your horizontal gene transfer. Does that have any effect with mutation? I don't know. I've not tried any sort of temperature shocks with mutations. That's actually a really good idea, would be to induce mutations and then throw into a heat stress environment or a frozen environment. And just, really run stuff through the ringer. That might not be a bad way to go. The final part, I'll be back in a month with better results. Thanks a lot for being transparent. I switched to Master's Mix. Excellent. That'll probably help you a lot. So, and it depends on what mushrooms are you growing as well. If I'm to get a CO2 meter, it'll take 3 weeks due to customs. Is there any natural way to pinpoint how much ppm CO2 in part of a room or total room like the color of a flame or something. Not really, but you don't need that. I don't use a CO2 meter, man. I've got one. I've got like one that cost me like $700. I mean, it would have cost me $700, but except we bought it with we bought this farm out in 2020, and it just came with the farm. But it was a really fancy CO2 meter. I never use it, man. Look, if your mushrooms start stretching, if they start getting really stemmy, you've got too much CO2. If the mushrooms are short, and like an oyster mushroom should barely produce a stem and then cap out as soon as it comes out. And if it doesn't, and it produces these larger stems, I mean, certain oyster mushroom strains will do that, but what you want is you want to get big fat caps, right? And if that's the case, CO2 will cause your mushrooms to stretch instead of flatten out. And that's how we tell. That's how we've always told people. There's a lot of people that tell you to get the CO2 meters and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like you can just use your eyes and tell. Huh? What? Smith said it's like just like looking at a house plant and seeing if it's got enough sunlight or not. You know, if it's doing poorly, move it into more light. Yeah. So would you buy a $700 meter to determine whether some people do? They get photometers. I don't think it's $700. A photometer is not that expensive, but yeah, that's it's not a color of a flame or anything. Boats, it's definitely going to be more just like if they start stretching, then you know. I can relate your ADHD style curiosity. I always appreciate the time you put into this. Always fun to learn from. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Huh, baby? What? Not wearing a helmet? Just fix his brakes? So you saw the brake cables I got him? Thanks, Dad, for getting me brake cables and caring so much. Kill him for a thanks. Let's see. Thank you. Your channel is amazing. The information is... Hey, thank you, Eric. I really appreciate that. I try to do as best as I can for y'all. I think most plant mutations use radiation, at least for 40 years before CRISPR. Yeah, and I'll be honest, like I do some mutation work. I'm doing it with the golds, but I'm doing it for a very specific purpose because I'm trying to induce damage, a damage-specific thing. Like what I want for the golden oysters is a mutation. Now, I still think for most things, mutations they're just not necessary for the most part. We have barely scratched the surface as a species. We have barely scratched the surface of selective breeding in general. I'm actually working on a book called, well, I'm going to tell you guys what it's called, but it's about selective breeding. And not just for mushrooms. I use mushrooms as an example, but I also use fish and plants and everything else. And selective breeding is something that is horrendously underutilized and very species specific in most schools of thought. And so fungi are also one of the newer kingdoms that humanity's decided to cultivate, right? Like we were talking about earlier, China, we know has been doing it for 1,000 years, and Europe since the 17th century or 1700s. Anyways, for 200 or 300 years. So it's not like something that most peoples have done. The Germans have done a great, service by breeding all the cabbages and stuff into all kinds of different forms. And I think that the Germans were the ones that were responsible for bringing selective breeding to the United States, if I'm remembering correctly. I read about that somewhere. But genetic engineering and mutation inducing whatever is all very good tool sets to have, but I just don't think that I think there's so much more selective breeding that we can do. And I think that we've barely seen the wonders that can come from that. So I think that even with the radiation and the CRISPR and all that stuff, like even just selective breeding will bring out a lot of different things. My 2 pence. Hey, I'm just tuning in, so I don't know if this topic is common, but I'm considering starting to go to polytunnel morel in Fortuna. You might follow the Dutch morel project. There's some stuff out of China about morel growing. Um, I mean, that's pretty cool, but I've not done much of it. So the morels are an Ascomycetes. What I work with mainly is Basidium mycetes, which so what you're talking about there is more what are known as sac fungi, and what we work with are typically the basidiospores. Are they create a little structure where they then bud off, and they've got 4 spores coming off the gill, or off that little structure that comes off the gill, the basidia. Most of what I tend to deal with is white rot fungi. Morels are not that. I do some cordyceps, which are also another type of Ascomycetes. But point being, I don't have a lot of advice on this. I know how to grow morel spawn. I know how to grow morel cultures. I have a sneaking suspicion that if a lot more selective breeding work was done with morels, we'd have a lot easier time growing them. And I think that there's more people trying to figure out how to grow the current morels than are spore printing and producing new lines that are easier to grow. And I think that if it was approached from that angle, like I think it would be a lot easier to figure out morel culture, just in general by doing that. So starting to grow morels in a polytunnel. I've been looking into the European Morel Company in Kosovo, and it seems to be commercially viable. Do you think this is a pipe dream or a viable profit maker? I think it's starting to turn. I think if you'd asked me that 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said that they were still spending more money producing the morels than they were making selling the morels. I think that I think we're at this linchpin moment, right? I think I don't think it's quite there yet. What's interesting is that the people doing the research and developing the SOPs are not necessarily, I've learned this myself developing standard operating procedures. Just because you make something and you'd figure it out, once it's out there, people can reverse engineer it. People are going to just take it for themselves. So it's early adopters, I feel like, are probably the ones that make more of the money when it starts coming in. So you don't have to be the person that's researched it to be able to get into the business model. I think that we're right about there. I think we're getting very close. The only problem I have is that what makes morels valuable is the supply issues with them. They're a tasty treat, but I don't think that they're so tasty. Like I think a shiitake is a superior eating mushroom to the morel most of the time. I like morels. It's a big part. It's like the only mushroom that's a part of my family food culture, growing up, or even like my gramps knew what they were. He knew people ate them. He knew that people called them dryland fish, that kind of thing, right? Though I wouldn't say that we hunted them a lot growing up or anything like that. Gramps would just show me what they were. But I think enoki are superior. I think maitake is superior. I think shiitake is superior eating mushrooms wise. So once the supply chain is figured out for morels, I don't think their value's already dropped. Back when I first started growing mushrooms, morel hunting was actually good around here. It's not been good in like 2 decades. But I would hunt morels and I'd be able to get $96 a pound out of them half the time. And nowadays wouldn't be able to get anywhere close to that. So I think that we're at this precipitous drop where the value's going to, like, as soon as the supply starts going up and is readily available, there'll be a surge for a time where people make money with it, and then I think it'll drop off some. I could be wrong about that. I hope that I'm wrong about that. I hope that people who get into the morels make a killing, and I think that they will. I think it's something that you can make money at. I think it can be very profitable. I think a lot of mushroom ops can be very, very profitable. So, I mean, even oysters. People like oysters are one of the easiest mushrooms to grow, but lots of people are building farm. Like, I mean, I know 2 different oyster mushroom farmers, primarily oyster mushroom farmers, who have taken out over $1 million loan and are building out new facilities in the past year, right? And are growing not hundreds of pounds anymore a week, but thousands of pounds a week. So I think that there's still a lot of room for that. And I still know plenty more new mushroom, and those guys are telling me that they're still not hitting all the supply. So Keep spawning culture, y'all. Thanks, Hendrix. Yeah, hit that like button. Subscribe for more notifications. You like this free consult stuff and you want it again, make sure you subscribe so you get notified. You want high CO2 for Inokitake. Probably my favorite mushroom besides cremini and portobello. Enoki is my favorite. And it's funny that you say portobello and cremini. Like, I still love portobello and cremini and buttons. I do miss the taste of raw buttons. I need to look that up because I actually really enjoyed raw buttons. But the idea there is, or sorry, not the idea there, though. What you're saying there really resonates with me because I still like both of those. But enoki is probably my favorite eating mushroom. Shiitake, I like shiitake for the texture and enoki for the flavor. But even then, like, I love oysters, especially some of the more flavorful oysters like pinks and golds and browns. I love the blues and the whites, but I'm starting to really creep more and more towards the mushrooms as flavor enhancers, right? I like that a lot. Chupa Bra. That's an interesting name. Mossy Creek, hey, can you please speak on your specific strain or strain you have access to of Hericium erinaceus with super high percentage of brain compounds? So the strain, the one that I have the best of, that I know of so far, like I might have other strains that actually test higher, is the Tribbles, and I cannot remember. I've not actually ever had it tested. I had a customer who had it tested, and I don't think I have the paperwork on that shelf. In fact, I don't even think it's in this room. But the Tribbles is the one that I have that we noticed grew out really sticky. And then when Dr. Oman came to visit, he was talking to us about, like, that one's going to be a great one for extracts. And then we started playing around with it. We noticed that the color and density of our extracts was much higher with that one. And then I started taking it and I noticed a better effect. So that's the one that we have selectively bred down like a couple of generations since then to produce a stickier fruit. Now, that said, I don't know what percentage of everything is there. So, and we need multiple rounds of testing over a few years to really know, but that's the one that we have bred for extracts. So, is that all you wanted, was the specific name? Or just like how we came up with that, or I'm also in the tropics. I've had good results with Phoenix, Italian, Florida, and pinks. I've also fruited a couple of heat-tolerant lion's manes. Those so far low yields, temp 75 to 85. Lion's mane, the only one I know of that does well in the heat is the Dyson Sphere. Everything else that we've had lion's mane-wise can grow in the heat, but grows better in the cool. The Dyson Sphere won't even grow in the cool. I've sent it to a couple of people for testing, and they're like, I can't even get it to grow, man. But they had ACs on, and my room didn't have an AC on, and the Dyson Sphere grew. So, but yeah, most of these wood lovers are going to be a little hard. So I think I'm really considering that. I would like to spend some more time in the tropics, and what I mean by that is, I would like to go places and see if I can't find any local or native mushroom cultures in these tropical areas, high heat areas. So I'd like to go to Mexico. Ted, stop. I would love to go down to like Mexico, southern Mexico, and hey, I said stop. Because Mexico has a strong mushroom culture. Southern Mexico does. And so I would love to go down there and spend some time and hunt some mushrooms that are known to the locals as being edible. And then look, what I would be specifically looking for is saprophytes. So any edible, especially choice edible mushrooms that grow on wood, in particular, freshly killed wood. Scuba Frogman or something like, I can't remember what his name is on here exactly. It's like Scuba Frogman or Frogman Scuba, or he's from the Virgin Islands, and he sent me a palm oyster. So an oyster mushroom he found on palm. It is most definitely a different oyster mushroom species, though still recognizably oyster. It is tasty. It is very heat tolerant. Shoot, I need to get that thing on the website. Actually, that would be a great one for southern growers. So I need to go down there to the Virgin Islands with him, and do some hunting with him. And now that my health is better, I probably will start traveling again soon. Though I hate traveling by plane because I'm huge. I know I'm fat, but like literally my shoulders are so wide that I can't hardly sit in a seat because I'm like I'm on another person. Anyways, that's why I usually try to get like an aisle seat and then put Samantha on the other side because she doesn't mind if I'm laid up on her for a couple hours. But I really do think that there would be some real benefit to finding heat tolerant choice edible mushrooms that grow on wood in the tropics. And my guess is that there's probably a lot more than we currently suspect. And that somebody's grandmother on one of these islands or one of these countries, or like down in Colombia or somewhere, has access to the knowledge of which mushrooms were edible or weren't edible. I mean, there'd probably be medicinals down there to find too. So, yeah, I really think that would be a good way to go. I do not want to go down there and just start taste testing mushrooms, right? So you got to find something. But I'm working on a breeding program for the Phoenix Italian Venetian type mushrooms and the pink oysters. Like I said, I'm running at least 3 different out. One's a really strange one from Australia that someone sent me, Urban Valley, I think. And we have a couple of golds that we're running out as well. So, but yeah, the pinks. I think pink oysters. I am breeding those right now. A couple of my F1s now, so I've gone from my F0s to my F1s, and I really think that pink oysters. I think there's a huge amount of potential in breeding them. To be honest, I just think that there's this huge amount of potential reservoir there. That I think pinks can be way better than what they are. They could be way more, at least, than what they are currently. Oh man, that hurts. What is that? Ow. I don't know if that's a bug just bit me or what. Reason why I'm just so confused is I did the calculations on the FAE, and I'm supposed to be getting 5 cycles an hour. My exhaust fan is facing the outside wind, and it's strong. Maybe need to rearrange. So there's a lot of other things that go into this. So, I mean, you can calculate it out. Like, this is the cubic footage of my room. This is the cubic foot per minute of my fan. But the moment you have a 90-degree bend in your ventilation, you've now cut that in half. And so what you want to always do is get a fan that's going to be way outsized, but has a adjustment so that it's not just on off. You want to be able to adjust the speed of your fan. And then I always just buy overpowered and run it lower. And that way, if I need to, I can always bump it up a little bit. But it is, man. It's one of those things that there's way more variables than what you're going to be able to account for fully. This is one of the reasons why we always try to get people to start growing the mushrooms, and then you can start working on. That is a bug bite. And then you can start working on, like adjustments. So, because your humidity and your fresh air are never going to be right the first times. They're just never going to be right. You're always going to fail when you get started into mushrooms. You will always start off a failure. But that's where we fail, and then you make the adjustments, and each failure leads you to the next success, and you start getting that stuff figured out. And then once you have a protocol for your area, your farm, your strains, your substrate, you got that protocol that can just be printed out over and over and over and over and over again. So, Chupa, bro. I'm so happy to see this happening. Love your channel. I've learned so much. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Flangworthy, when you say 40% hydration for your grain spawn bags, does that mean you take your dry weight and add 40% water? Wait, no, it means that I pick a target. I want a 5-pound block. And for that 5-pound block, if I want 50% moisture content, that's 2.5 pounds of water, which means that my dry materials are now 2.5 pounds as well. 4 pounds is, 40%, I think 5 is 2. So you'd have 2 pounds water, 3 pounds of substrate for the 40%. Now, for the grain spawn bags, I would pick a 5-pound bag or something like that. And I would bump that up to 50%. Unless you're going to dose a massive amount of liquid culture, bump that up to 50%. You'll probably have a little bit better results. But I use a massive amount of liquid culture when I inoculate my stuff, so I always do it a little bit drier. But you want to do it of total weight, not of weight of the dry material. I think you have to be certified and licensed in North Carolina to sell wild mushrooms. I don't remember the exact law on it, but they want you to be certified, and is my understanding. Trad Cotter is the guy who basically wrote all that stuff up and then got them to do it. And Trad basically kind of wrote it into law where he was the only one that could certify people. It's pretty good racket for a while. Tennessee tried to do that, and some friends of mine luckily got up there. They went and spoke in front of the Tennessee State Congress and a bunch of other stuff, and they were just like, how many mushroom poisonings do we have? Do we really need to legislate something with such a low number? Like, this is stupid. No mushroom picker is out there picking random mushrooms and selling them, because as soon as I poison somebody, I'm not going to have that customer anymore. It's so stupid to make this a legalistic thing. But you're right. You're probably right. And if it is a legal thing, I highly suggest everyone follow the laws of their country. As much as I may think that they're stupid laws, that doesn't mean that we follow the stupid laws, because you can get just as much trouble for the stupid laws as the smart laws. Wow, so glad you're doing this. Can you please speak on the specific strains of HE you've accessed that have super high percentage of brain compounds from brooding buddy or LC you would love to cultivate? So again, the tribbles one. So there's always a lag. So I've got to work my way through the comments. So sometimes you'll ask something and it will take me a minute. But the tribbles is the one, and you've probably already heard me talking about that. But it's I'm always fruit body. I'm team fruit body. But I'm not against people using mycelium. But I'm not. I'm just more team fruit body, because that is the historical use, and I'm completely open to the data proving me out to be wrong. But historically, throughout human history that we know of, we accessed the medicinal components of mushrooms via basically water extracts of fruit bodies. And so I am a water extract man, and I am a fruit body man. Oh my gosh. So can you guys see? Yeah, it's fruiting out of the agar. You guys have to be careful when you use today's sponsor, Dr. Solarian's LC premix, the elixir of mycelial mastery, or the spore kindler formula. That would be the LC premix. It's fruit in there too. Lion's Mane, man. Lion's Mane always wants to fruit. It just always wants to fruit.
That's what caught my attention.
Yeah. You can't. Yeah. So it's like focused on my face. So when you go close like that, it just blurs it. That's what happens when you use high performance agar, folks. It wants to fruit right off the plate. But yeah, the tribbles is the one I would go to, and I would use the fruit buddy. Speaking of Dr. Solarian's elixir of mycelial mastery, guys, I think it's time to see that sponsorship for a moment. Be right back.
Introducing the future of mycology, Dr. Solarian's elixir of mycelial mastery. This isn't your average culture mix. It's a revolution in a packet, crafted for the dedicated cultivator seeking unparalleled growth. Experience the visual alchemy of this masterful brew. As you mix 10 grams with 500 milliliters of water, watch the solution transform into a rich amber spectacle. the hallmark of a nutrient-dense sanctuary for your burgeoning mycelium. This is where vibrant color meets vibrant life, setting our elixir apart from the ordinary clear liquid cultures. Prepare to be captivated. Mix 10 grams of Dr. Silurian's elixir with 500 milliliters of water, add a stir bar for thorough integration, and sterilize the blend at 15 psi for 45 minutes. Once cooled, introduce your favorite culture into this perfectly prepared, nutrient-rich environment. Watch in awe as the elixir works its magic, unveiling a mycelial masterpiece before your eyes. Choose Dr. Silurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery for a mycological adventure that's as visually enchanting as it is potent.
Dr. Silurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery. It's my buddy Charles's voice, and it always cracks me up to hear him talking like that, because that's, not how we hear him talk. But it's always, I don't know. I like it. Cracks me up. Isn't chupa sucks in Spanish? I don't know. Let's find out. Chupa. Oh, is that the pelletizer? Chupa. Spanish to English. Sucks. Yep, chupa sucks. Hey, it's sugar. It's more dried malt extract. Oh, yeah, that's the little test pelletizer that Ben and I are going to experiment with. You're welcome in the Caribbean anytime. Well, I might take you up on that. Like, seriously, that might be something Samantha and I are like, oh my gosh, oh no, we've got to go to work in the Caribbean this winter. What? Shades are us? Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. The Caribbean is exactly my kind of place. I freaking would love that, but Samantha does not do well in the sunlight. She dies every time we go to the beach. It tends to be more toxic mushrooms in the tropics, or is that? I don't actually know. I don't know. Most of the toxic mushrooms I know of are here local. Are there more toxic mushrooms, the tropics, anywhere else? I don't think that's going to be true. No, there are not more toxic mushrooms in the tropics. In fact, the most famous deadly mushrooms mostly grow in cool, temperate forests. However, tropical regions do have unique deadly species such as the poison fire coral. Fire coral. That's pretty cool looking. Here, let me pull that up. So that's a pretty neat little mushroom. It is poison. So, but look at that. Like, it looks like coral. There's fire coral and then poison fire coral. Like, that's pretty neat. I bet if we did like a Google search of edible mushrooms from the tropics, there'd be a good list. What choice edible mushrooms are from the tropics? So, patty straw, almond portobello, pink oyster, wood ear, termite mushrooms. So there's got to be more. Are there any more that are saprobes? Let's see. So, yes, several other choice edible tropical mushrooms are saprobes. The milky white mushroom, which is Calicyba indica. I've been wanting to grow that one forever. Bridal veil stinkcorn. No, thank you. I am not wanting to eat a stinkcorn. Macrocybe. Thought that was the termite. Snow fungus, a tropical and subtropical jelly fungus that grows as a parasitic saprobe on other wood decaying fungi. I think Jacob Howard may have grown some snow fungus, unless I'm saying that he had grown some tremella. Earlilia, a common tropical bracket fungus that acts as a primary wood decomposer. When very young and soft, is collected from dead logs by indigenous communities across tropical regions as a resilient, savory food source. I'm sure if we did more, there would be more, like a longer search. I live in the Cahaba River Basin. It is the most biodiverse place in North America, and it gets over 100 here. We have everything, including Haricium. I'm going to be sending you some wild cultures. That would be great, man. Where is the Cahaba River Basin? Cahaba River Basin. Alabama's longest free-flowing river system. Man, look at the lilies and stuff. Like, I've got a bunch of friends who go down to Alabama and hunt the rivers down there for fish and plants that they bring back and then grow out and sell. And where a lot of it's from Alabama, a lot of it won't survive the winters here, so we don't have to worry about it being an invasive. So that's pretty cool. But man, I might be coming down to visit you someday to do some bioprospecting. But that would be fantastic. Yeah, man. The Mycologium would love your trades. I know fresh air exchange has to be balanced in a way that you don't suck all of the humidity and cool air out with a fan that's too big. That is true. And the problem is that it's always a balance. You can't run your air so hard that you run out of cool air and humidity. But you can't run so slow that your CO2 builds up. Unless, now, and this is something that we've suggested for a long time to anyone that comes and does a consult with us, if they're growing in the tropics or the desert or somewhere where it gets really hot or even really cold, unless you can afford an HRV system, a heat recovery system, then you really, what we like to do, so we've got a walk-in. It's just a modified walk-in. It's like a 12 by 12 walk-in with like 4 or 5 inches of insulation all the way around. And we just grow the mushrooms in there. We do high CO2 tolerant mushrooms. So it's 65 degrees in there all the time. A single window unit can run that entire room and stay at 65 degrees. We could put a cool bot on it if we wanted to get it cooler. It's got no problem keeping up with the temperature inside. We grow our cordyceps in there right now, which handles the higher CO2 just fine. We grow our enoki in there. And the enoki, we grow higher CO2 on purpose. And we never open the bag. So we don't open the bag for cordyceps. We don't open the bag for the enoki. We don't open the bag for our high CO2 lion's mane. We don't open the bag for porcelain mushrooms that we've been trialing out in there. Though I will say, I think the porcelain may do better in the heat. Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, we're about to try some Namiko in there because we can keep it cool. Though really they like it even better. Beach mushrooms I'm about to trial, but I think that they may not do as well the higher CO2. But shiitake will handle a surprising amount of CO2. A lot of people will talk about, that it won't, I guess, but I've actually had really good results with shiitake. And not a high CO2 environment, but a relatively to oysters. We just don't grow oysters in there. Fail forward. That's right. Chrissy, every time I see your name, it makes me think of Skyrim. I probably said Skywind. It reminds me of Skyrim every time. My 2 pence says, thanks for the feedback on morels. Could you also give me some advice on my farm? I grow only lion's mane mushrooms right now, but I think people might be getting tired of them. So I'm looking to Helen, I bet you've got another comment down here. I'll get back to yours here in a second. Add another species. I don't like the taste of oysters, so struggle to be a good salesman for them. I also work a day job, so would like something less aggressive. I'm thinking maitake or shiitake. Okay, so the problem. You have another comment. What do you think is the best for someone in my position? Thanks in advance. I'm looking for higher revenue. So higher revenue, you won't get higher revenue than oysters. You're just not gonna get higher revenue than you will with oysters. Oysters have a lot going for them. So they have a high crop velocity, and what I mean by that is a high crop turnaround, basically. So you go from inoculation to harvest in less than a month for a lot of them, and it's hard to find a crop that you're going to get $8 a pound wholesale that will grow in 3 weeks. So your ROI is faster. Your ROI is big. So by the time you grow, so shiitake, the minimum you're going to be able to keep shiitake is 8 weeks. You have to grow in an incubation for 8 weeks. It's going to spend another 2 weeks in your grow room. You're going to get one flush from it most of the time, unless you add a bunch of labor at the end. So, or you risk getting a bunch of mold with the shiitake. So, and that strain that does it in 8 weeks really isn't the best one. For the best shiitake, or really not even the best shiitake, but for the best results with a quick shiitake, you're going to want the 12-week strain. So now you're talking about inoculation, and it's 3 months before you get to put it in the grow room. So now for however many shiitake you want to produce, you have to be able to hold 13 weeks in your incubation. So if you're doing 100 blocks a week of shiitake through your grow room, then you're going to have 100 per week stacked back all the way 13 weeks, 12 weeks plus one, right? So that's 1,300 blocks that you're going to have the space to sit and cool and hold on to. Shiitake is temperature sensitive. It does not like temperature swings. So you got to keep it stable. And so it's got to sit there the whole time. Now, and you're going to get $2 a pound more for it. You're going to get $10 a pound instead of your $8 a pound. So now if you break that in, you're going to get 4 crops of oyster in that same time period. So for the 100 blocks, you're going to get 2 pounds of oysters, let's say conservatively. So 2 pounds times 100 is 200 times 4. You're going to get 800 pounds of mushrooms in the same time that you're going to get about 100, let's just be generous, 150 pounds of shiitake, maybe 200. So, and you're going to make $8 a pound, so $6,400 on the oysters, whereas the shiitake, let's be generous. Let's just be generous and give it 200 times the 10. You're going to make $2,000. So higher revenue, oysters, man. And if you don't like oysters, maybe you haven't had the right oysters. Try pinks, try golds, try browns. If you want flavor, good flavor in an oyster, and you like maitake and things, try our Old Road oyster. The Old Road or the Mossy Creek oyster. They're 2 of the most flavorful oysters I've ever tried. Mycelial Maven on Instagram just posted the other day about how much, she's like, the Old Road is it's so much flavor. And I agree. For an oyster, it has an incredible flavor profile. So there are oysters. We've actually been searching and dealing with oysters for a long time. And one of my problems was how boring they were. And yeah, I wasn't a good salesman for them. But for the grower, this should get you excited. As a grower, oysters are amazing gourmet mushrooms because of how adaptable they are, because they don't have the strongest flavor. You can dry them to increase the flavor. You can add them as a seasoning to baked potatoes, a little butter, black pepper, oyster mushroom powder. You can saute them and throw them on a steak. You can saute them and put them on a hot dog. You can there's all these different things you can do with mushrooms, the oysters in particular. And you can get more flavorful if you like. Pink oysters are one of the most flavorful mushrooms there's ever been. And I actually like the flavor of pinks. In particular, our smokehouse pink. That is one of the best flavored pink oysters I've ever come across. If you want color, Wampus Tongue is the best colored pink oyster I've come across. It is just so unbelievably pink. And if you grow it down around 55 to 65 degrees, it is almost blood red. It's not quite blood red, but it's just a hot, hot, hot pink. Kind of a dark hot pink. I don't know how you get dark hot, but so, and pinks are going to be like 2 weeks. So now pinks are not going to have a good shelf life. So that's one of those mushrooms that you're going to either have to dry or you're going to have to get to your customers fast. But Josiah was telling me, even him up in Knoxville, even he's gone back to growing pinks. Like pinks are going through a resurgence for some reason. Which makes me super happy. So, let's see. So Plum said, shipping containers to me make the best portable mushroom growing setups. That's true, but they're good portable, but they are my favorite way, honestly, over shipping containers right now. Is to Amazon has killed commercial real estate. So you can you can sublease space in a warehouse. You can sublease warehouses like super cheap comparatively to like residential. Residential rents are higher than ever. Commercial rents are collapsing. Um, and there are a lot of these like smaller out of the way warehouses, which as a mushroom farm you don't want to be right up on people anyways, or even you don't want the storefront spots that are going to be outrageously expensive. You can find you a good place to rent for, it doesn't have to be terribly expensive, and you can build a bivouac much easier. So some 2x4 structure, plastic stretched around it, AC built into the frame of it like a window unit, and bam, you have pretty much a grow room right there. Now the shipping container is nice because you can pick it up and take it with you. But I mean, we've been growing in our first grow room for 5 years, and I am now going through and rebuilding it. Even though the bivouac, as we called it, was never meant to last more than 6 months, it's been going on for 5 years and was producing mushrooms for the entirety of that 5 years. So, and it paid itself off within the first 2 weeks of having crops put in it. So, nowadays lumber is a bit more expensive, but even then, I feel like you would pay that stuff off, and when you moved out, you could just not deal with the grow room. The landlord, like our landlord, is going to just deal with it when we eventually leave one day. Failure is the path that leads us to our next victory. Absolutely, fail forward, as they say, as Chrissy said earlier. Hold on. I had to skip some, and then I've seen local mushroom growers to me that sells wheat berry mycelium bricks. Have you ever eaten that? How would you eat it? Like, he's selling it for consumption? I've not done that. The closest I could think of would be Sydney over Singleton created Morel Tempa. If you go on mushroom growing on Facebook, so you go on Facebook and you go to the mushroom growing group and you look up Sydney spelled Sidnee, and then look up Morel Tempa, so Morel space Tempeh, I think. The Morel Tempa is it always looks really good. I tried to make oyster Tempa, so I sterilized some beans, and then I put oyster mushroom mycelium on it, and I let it grow, and then I sliced it into little bean cake slices. It smelled like burnt hair when I was cooking it. Did not like. But the morel is supposed to be easier and better, and so I have not tried it, but it looked really tasty when Sydney made it. As far as like, wheat berry mycelium brick, I mean, I would maybe boil it and make tea or something like that, but yeah, that doesn't sound very tasty to me. Fire coral looks awesome. It does, doesn't it? It looks super nice. Because it's an awesome name. Well, it is an awesome name. Did you legally change it yet? We have more critically endangered species than most. This is Alabama. Most places have native plants and animals. More than 17 different crayfish. Yeah, that sounds like a paradise to me. Like, I do most of my mushroom hunting from the water. So we do most of our mushroom hunting via kayak now. Because in the high summer, you can still, like, you'll find reishi mushrooms growing on dead spars and stuff. That said, I'm going to see if I can't get out on a lake Saturday or something for just a little bit. Any relation to the store cloaks, Chrissy? The storm cloaks? Yeah, Chrissy, are you one of the storm cloaks? Weren't the storm cloaks like horrendously racist in that game? Puffballs were popular at one point. What happened to that? They still are. They still are very popular. People, it's seasonal, and Fern in our Discord was trying to grow some and was getting rid of their collection. I wonder whatever happened to that. I need to reach out and recontact Fern. I've not talked to him in a while. The not the giant puffball, but there's the common puffball, I think, grows on dead wood, and I have some cultures and I have swabs of puffballs. I just never did do much with them. I grew some out on agar, and then I think I just let them go bad and didn't do anything with them. So this is something I'm trying to be more aware of. Hey, Brody, would you mind pushing that shelf this way so it's not getting hit by the door? Thank you. Boy, something smells good. What is that? Smells good. Your mom's got the grill going, doesn't she? I can smell it. Is that the grill going? I smell. That's what I thought. It smells good. I mean, whatever. Well, if we get a visit from the fire department, every time we start our grill, we basically, it's like a 50-50 chance whether or not we're going to see the fire department show up because it's a smoker and it'll start smoking and then it calms down. But somebody driving by will be like, oh my gosh, it's on fire. Especially since we had all these people move from like California and Colorado here. They're so open your business about fire all the time. But anyways, I think that I need to be more intentional about making sure that I'm not doing too much at once, because that's when I start having things. I start going, oh, this, and this. I can do it all. And so right now, I'm being very specific about what things I'm doing. So I'm doing a pink oyster breeding program, a brown oyster, and a gold oyster, and that's it as far as any of that stuff goes. We're doing our regular liquid culture. We've dropped spawn. We're doing the fish and plant sales, but most of that stuff is on autopilot through the summertime. We just have to make sure it's watered. But we're also doing the plant tissue culture. So you can already see I've got a bunch of things, irons in the fire. And so I'm trying to be very, very intentional. So right now, beyond the breeding program and the plant tissue culture work, because our tissue culture plants finally came in, our growing media that I need right now to make more cups comes in tomorrow. We'll autoclave all of that stuff, and then I'll be able to start producing a bunch of plants. And we've got a couple of distributors that are going to take all of our tissue culture plants off our hands. So, I've got to focus on that. And I'm not starting another project until I have the protocols, in place to make it easy. So, that being said, puffballs are still something I would love to do. I just, again, I need a whole nother thing. Hey, doggo. Hey, yeah. Teddy, come here. Someone wants to say hi. Come here. Tinky Winky. Tinky Winky says hello. Oh, Tinky Winky says bye. You don't have to go, though. In fact, let me get that booger out of your eye. That's gross. It doesn't look comfortable. It's a good boy. It's good tattered. Good tattered. You gonna be a prop for my show? I'm going shock that dog. Shock that dog. Do you remember that song that came out when Hassan, whatever his name was, shocked his dog or whatever? Oh, somebody made a meme song about it or something like that. Do what? Yeah. And I can't believe I've missed these lives. I'm weekly tuned into One Piece podcast, and now that I can actually relax, plus Biz Peak. Excellent, man. What's One Piece podcast? I'm not familiar with that one. Is there any software made to manage the mushroom growing, track lineage, and keep track of growers? Mycofile? Is that the one that... Hold on. I have one on my phone that I never use. Dang it, I wish Tucker was on here right now. He would know. Can't remember. Actually, I can't find one. So maybe I took it off my phone because the one I had been using, they were no longer. The guy had gotten really sick and he couldn't do anymore. Okay, I think it is Microfile is the one that I've heard the most about, and people are using it. Yeah. There's people even right here on the reviews. People are talking about how they've been using it and stuff. So Mycofile, spelled Mycofile, Mushroom Grow Tracker on the Google Play Store. That one actually works with the printers that we use. I know that. So, in fact, I should talk to them about an affiliation or something. Light stream. Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, guys, like that stream. Please, if you watch me, like my stream. Please. I need them. If I don't get likes, I won't live. 27 watchers, 11 likes. Hit that like button. Thanks for the call out, man. I appreciate that. Between you and Hendrix, man, I'm gonna get a lot more likes, I hope, because I'll remember. You're very welcome, Tinky Winky. Only said bye when he left. Yeah, I know. I was just playing with him. That One Piece talk. I'm still not sure what that is, but One Piece talk. I'll look it up, but I don't listen to a lot of podcasts anymore. Yes, the app is called Mycofile, but no one ever uses it. Oh, really? That's the biggest thing. I mean, like what I do most of the time now, and I've got no opinion on Mycofile. I've not really used it, but I know people that use it. I just track most of my stuff. We've got like a label system that we use, and I just track everything based on that. And try not to. I don't know. I don't digitize a lot of stuff, so I probably should. I did eventually build my own spreadsheets, and I use that when I do use anything digital. But most everything I keep track on just notebooks. I'm still old school that way. I guess I need to get with the times and get a little bit more. That said, hard for people to hack paper, and some of the stuff I work on is pretty. I've probably got like $3 or $4 million ideas in here that I'm waiting to bring to market, but I can't because I can't afford to bring it to market. So I need to bring one of them to market to make the money to bring the others to market. I got a lot of Ben and I have been working on some ideas, but I've got a lot of ideas that I'm hoping in the next couple of years I'll actually be able to work out as we're starting to slowly build up the leasing aspect of things. So like leasing strains and SOPs and things like that. Dr. Mushroom and Mr. Dogglesworth. Only Mini Shroom is missing. We call him Mini Shroom Doom. I'm just playing. Yeah, that's Mr. Dogglesworth. He's a good puppy. He is the best of puppies. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And he was the best of pups. But yeah, he's a good doggy. I love Mycofile. I learned about it from these live chats. Excellent. I am glad. I don't really tend to use it much. Or I've never used it. I used a Myco. What was the name of that software we used to use? That Guy and Aaron had made? Mycotrace. But it's now defunct. A guy got really sick, and he was the money behind the whole thing. And I think, what did he get, like cancer or something? Samantha said it was it was nice to have someone who like cared about your feedback and like changed things within a day. Like we would tell them, and they would make changes to the software. Um,
And they have this really cool old school pixel design
so they had this old school pixel artwork stuff they were putting design work they were putting into it. Microtrace was really really good. I really liked it. Aaron came over all the way from the UK and installed some printers and set the apps up on our phones, and then set up like the protocols for talking to the developer team and stuff. And it was going really great. I honestly could see it really going somewhere, but guy got sick and he just he just couldn't do it anymore. So I'm making a custom one for my farm. I'll make it open source soon, but you need to connect your own sensors. Well, that's a nice one too, is one that'll connect to sensors to track all that stuff too. Because I think analytics would be king, but if you don't make it automatic, it's just not going to get done for most people. You can easily build with AI. Just keep in mind when you build with AI, you don't own rights to it. No, you take the one that you build with AI, and then you do manual changes to it. And once you change it a certain amount, you do own it. So there's some legality stuff that they've been talking about with artwork and stuff. Like you can't own any of the artwork that you make, but you can use it as inspiration to make artwork or something, so there's some other things. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how all that stuff goes. Our daughter has been obsessed with all things One Piece. It's anime and had live action. So is that One Piece talk? I'm gonna have to look this up because that's you've now the second person. That One Piece talks insightful discussions about the manga anime One Piece. Oh, I've never even heard of this. My sons probably have. My kids, they watch a lot of stuff, but yeah, I am not familiar with this. Or what One Piece. Didn't they make a movie about this? I think I see this character, and I feel like I saw. Wasn't he like super stretchy or something? I can't remember, but I feel like I saw something. I think the rule is you have to contribute over 50% of a design or writing or software in order to have rights to it. So there you go. Yeah. My oldest son likes One Piece. I'm going to have to ask my kids if they know of it. I've not heard of them talk about it. Like Collier got us, my oldest son, got Samantha and I to watch Pantheon, and that one was a mind fuck. Oh my gosh. Hope there weren't any children listening to me. But that one was like it. Oh, every couple of episodes just broke my heart. And then, do you remember what that other one was that Collier got me to watch? It was like this kid could see ghosts, and he had a mentor who couldn't see the ghosts. Oh man, what was that one? Oh man, I don't remember it. Can't remember the name now. There's this kid, and they have like a ghost detection, like ghost banishing agency or something like that. It was a good show. I just can't remember it now. Anime. Let's see. Anime kid can see ghosts, but not his mentor. No. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to figure it out. This was also a fake center, blah blah blah. Nope, okay. This apparently is a common theme. Well, whatever. I'd have to ask Collier. It had a really cool intro. Yu Yu Hakusho? No, I don't think that was it. Definitely not that. So has a similar style. Not Hunter x Hunter. Good lord. Oh my gosh, there's like a billion of these freaking anime. Okay, well, whatever. I'll just have to ask him. I can maybe ask him later, but yeah. I mean, so I grew up so right up there above my head here. I've got Trigun and Record of Lodoss War and Akira and Cowboy Bebop and some of the older animes. I definitely have watched some of the older stuff. I like when I was younger, we used to watch Vampire Hunter D. I think that's what it was called, and things like that. But yeah, I mean, and of course, we always like it's not anime, I know, but we love the Studio Ghibli stuff and whatnot. Plum, eat, repeat. Yes, I don't really use AI to that extent, but I make it help me sometimes. It's great for vibe coding. AI is great for vibe coding. And Bleach. Oh, I just saw that one, I think. Okay, hold on. If I go to Netflix, okay, Ghost anime. It was like Demons. Mob Psycho 100. That was it. My son had me watch Mob Psycho 100 and then Delicious in Dungeon. Delicious in Dungeon is probably my favorite. I guess you would call that an anime, but Delicious in Dungeon is probably my favorite anime ever. And I'm not really an anime person. Like I don't like any genre. I just tend to like movies and stuff. But yeah. They did a live action series, and yes, okay, that's what I was thinking. Not gonna lie, I'm not a fan of anime, but my children, like most people under 30, love it. Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, I'm 40. I was, I guess, on the leading edge of some of that stuff. Like Record of Lodoss War is one of the. Now, if you watch it, it's one of. Hey, Mob Psycho. That the one that was the Ghost Hunter kid. Yeah. Okay. What other? Do you watch animes? Like a lot. What do you like right now? Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't know that one. Okay. Okay. Well, no, that's fine. I mean, people were talking about it, like that's fine. You don't have to right now. He likes the cool ones. Okay. Fire Core, Fire Force. Oh, is that the one with all the different like firefighters? But they're like firefighting demons or something. People combust. When they combust, like it's their superpowers or something, or they combust and die. Okay. You don't want to spoil anything? Okay, fair enough. We won't spoil anything. But, but yeah, see, my kids are into it too. I grew up like Trigun was good. Nowadays, I watch Trigun and I'm like, that was weirder than I remember. And then, but Cowboy Bebop is cooler than ever. Like I watched it recently, rewatched it, and my favorite episode is Toys in the Attic. You prefer Trigun over Cowboy Bebop? Cowboy Bebop's what? Really slow. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. The anime I like was really slow by today's standards. But Delicious in Dungeon, would you consider Delicious in Dungeon an anime? So, but is that considered an anime? I feel like it's considered anime, and I love Delicious in Dungeon. It's like Dungeons and Dragons, but a cooking show. Yeah, it's fantastic. Like it's one of my favorite. And I swear, the guy that works next door for Ben, Daniel is one of the main characters. Do you remember his name, Brody? The dwarf guy, yeah. Yeah, he's like a dwarf who cooks, and like it's like I'm a pretty pitiful dwarf. Like I don't care for weapons or metal, or he doesn't take care of his axe. Now that's not like Daniel. Daniel takes care of stuff like that, but yeah, I think it's pretty funny. Vampire Hunter D was awesome. I only saw one movie growing up when I was a kid. Oh, and then Wolf Brigade. What was that? Something Wolf Brigade. That movie was harrowing to watch as a kid. Now, as you watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm mature enough to understand it a lot more now. But Sailor Moon was popular when I was younger. Me too, Plum. I think you and I are roughly the same age. What, Samantha? Yeah. And Inuyasha, Samantha said. I guess it was an anime. I watched Pokemon when I was a kid. Is there a reliable way to sterilize things with alcohol and not use any flame or anything that can catch the alcohol on fire? So yes. So you're not sterilizing anything with alcohol. You're sanitizing. So that's one thing. Is that alcohol is a sanitizing agent, not a sterilizer. The rhizofunga tool. Let me see. I will just show you here. Let me pull it up on the screen share. Use code Mossy when you do this if you buy one of these because it'll save you money and it gets me a kickback. So this right here is the Lab Rat Micro Induction Sterilizer. He's had it on sale the past couple of weeks. I don't know how much longer he's going to do that. You'll get I think it's 10% off, and I get a 10% kickback if you use code Mossy with that. And this tool is fantastic. I've completely replaced my use of a torch with it, except for when I go out and do if I bring my field lab with me, which I use a Nomad, a flow hood from Lab Rats, which is also Manowar. So I think just Manowar sells them now. But if you get a Manowar Nomad hood or small hood, it is very easy to carry with you. And then I'll carry this tool with me if I'm going to like a cabin, and if I'm camping somewhere, then I will bring a torch with me and use it then. But that's really it. But yeah, use code Mossy. It's Rhizofunga, RHIZOFUNGA.com. I'm planning on growing some blue oyster this year. Wheat straw is cheap, so I got a chopper, and I'm planning on doing cold pasteurization. Any tips? Move to sawdust as fast as you can because straw is Satan's substrate. But that said, if with straw and cold pasteurization, you're probably going to want to do lime. It really only works with oysters. Proper PPE is everything. So personal protective equipment, gloves. We knew somebody that was using lime sterilization and it ate away her fingernails. So wear gloves and do not handle these caustic substances with abandon. You want to be very careful on how you use this. Let's see. That's really about it. I would almost rather get like a turkey fryer pot and just do small amounts of alcohol or a 55-gallon drum, small amounts of straw. I mean, and heat sterilize, pasteurize. I mean, that would be the way I would probably do that. But that's really, I don't do a lot of high pH stuff. The only thing I do high pH right now is spirulina, and it's not something I have to handle. And it's only up to 10 pH. So good luck with it. I find that it works for some people, but a lot of people in tropical or warm climates, if you're in a desert, you're probably fine. But when you have a high bioload, which I do here in East Tennessee, this method tends to be pretty hit or miss. But you can use boiling water. So if you can boil water in a pot and then pour that onto your straw and let your straw soak into it, that's really, you're probably going to be pretty better served by doing that. Samurai Jack, yeah, that was a good one. We actually met the CEO that was over Cartoon Network when Samurai Jack came out. So that was, I remember, okay, that was one I definitely watched as a kid. What's that, baby? Smith said that was pretty much her favorite. I accidentally caught on fire, melted my steel airbox, and I have second-degree burns on both hands. Luckily, we figured out the fire extinguisher in time. So I will tell you the only lab fire I've ever had is when using a alcohol lamp. And I've had 2 lab fires when using alcohol lamps. That's why I like the propane torch. But yeah, you got to be careful with that. Bleach is usually better in a still air box, though the fumes can be pretty. You need to get away from still air box as fast as you can. They're not the best things, really. But if you do use alcohol in a still air box, the best thing to do is to use it and then give it some time to dissipate. But you're gonna like a flow hood is usually the best way to go, or at least an FFU. And you can get really affordable small FFUs from Man of War Innovations. So if you look up like Flow Hood, Man of War, they have small, true flow hoods, true laminar flow hoods. So you should check them out and get that. That will protect you in a lot of ways. And yeah, this is why you got to be careful with this stuff. So I was more of a Looney Tunes, Tiny Toon Adventures, Rugrats. Oh, I loved Rugrats, Doug, Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life. Rocko's Modern Life was my jam back in the day. Hey Arnold. Oh man, we had a lot of good cartoons growing up. Animaniacs. Thank you. Fumes don't ignite with that. I've never had any fumes ignite with that. I can't promise that they wouldn't, but I've literally sprayed it down with alcohol, kind of rubbed it off real quick, and then slid it in that and didn't have an issue. So, but you don't really want to be working around a bunch of alcohol fumes, anyways. What, baby? David the Gnome. Is David the Gnome? I think I remember him and his wife would like do the little nose to nose rub. Yeah, I can't remember that. Rescue Rangers was good. Fraggle Rock. Gummy Bears. There was a Gummy Bear show? I don't remember that. Could you speak a little slower, please? I can. Is there something you want me to repeat? Powerpuff Girls, Animaniac. Oh, Dexter's Laboratory. His laboratory. What? See, my son's even got good old cartoons. Invader Zim. Invader Zim was a great one. Good choice, Brody. TV shows were Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Family Matters, Full House, Step by Step. I remember all of those. Home Improvement. Who? Let's see. Hey, Andrew, haven't been on in a while. How you doing? Hey, Miros. I'm doing well. We are, as always, in a transitory position, and so we're always navigating that. But we've been laying in a bunch of infrastructural work over the past year that is starting to gain traction. I ain't rich yet, but I'm going to be rich one day. I can tell it, feel it, I know it. So I'm doing well. Enjoying the struggle, right? It's not about the destination. It's how we're getting there. Beavis and Butthead when my parents weren't around because I wasn't allowed to watch it either. I'd go to my grandma's house and she would let me watch it. She also South Park. I never got to watch South Park until I was older. It wasn't until I was an adult, and then I fell in love with South Park. But I got to watch Conan the Barbarian over at my grandma's house, and I still remember that was like the first time I ever saw boobs on TV. You know, it stuck with me. She's really rolling her eyes. But also, like, I don't know. Do you remember that part in Conan where he's like, "Oh, you want the secret to steal? Let me show you real power." And then he's like, "You child," and then and she just steps off the cliff and falls to her death. And he's like, "See, that's the true power."
Is this like the movie or the cartoon with like She-Ra and all that?
That's He-Man, not Conan. How dare you? How dare you? Get those two confused. Straw is the devil, says Substrates. True, it's sticky. Like, man, how many years later did I find straw? Like in my clothes pockets and my wallet. Like we stopped using it, and it was like 4 years later. I was still finding bits of straw everywhere. That was miserable. There's pictures of me somewhere where I'm wearing a respirator, and you can't see the rest of my face. I'm so covered in straw dust. It was terrible. I live in North Africa. We have a cold winter, and I will only do a small batch for a few weeks. I will post the results. Okay, yeah. You will probably do okay then. Yeah, please do let me know. I remember Johnny Quest. That's a Tennessee Stargazer. Johnny Quest. But that was before my time. I was watching reruns of that and the Jetsons. I was shoot. I'm sorry, Stargazer. I forgot your name. I was going. That's right. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. Yeah, Samantha's dad would take her to the flea market, and then they would just buy stuff, or it was either that or pirated. Bullshit, Samantha. I remember seeing it. Like, there's one where I remember a movie that he and I were watching that was like filmed while in a movie theater. Like they could see people sitting. Don't get a used FFU from eBay like I did. The filters were $700 10 years ago and almost impossible to get, but they're closer to $1,000 now if you can ever get. Yeah, honestly, the new ones, the ones that Ben's doing over at Manowar, are 3D printed. If you go to Manowar, use code Mossy. That'll save you 10%, and it gets me a tiny little kickback. But if you buy their bag shakers, stir plates, bagger, anything, including the flow hoods, use code Mossy. It'll save you some money. And they're cheaper, and they're 3D printed. A lot of them are a lot of the flow hoods are 3D printed shells now, which makes them lighter, easier to use, and like the shipping is not nearly as bad on them anymore. That kind of stuff. What, baby? I'll take cheese on mine. Ooh, you making cheeseburgers? Oh, fire. So pellet grilled. So wood smoked grilled hamburgers, cheeseburgers. It's like the best thing ever. Check local auctions for Flowhood. I bought a brand new one on the shipping pallet, Baker Edgeguard HF, for a couple $100 from Ohio State. That's pretty good. I got a reptile. My incubator is a reptile incubator from the herpetology lab of UT, and I think my buddy got it for $20. And then I think I just gave him $20 for it, or he may have just given it to me. I can't remember. But he worked at UT at the time, and he was always finding stuff on auction or before they put it on auction. Inspector Gadget, anyone? Pinky in the Brain. Oh, Pinky in the Brain. Oh, that was a good one for sure. What? What? Samantha said, "Where's Carmen Sandiego?" I do remember Inspector Gadget. That was a good one. When I first started watching and learning about mushrooms on the tube, all there was straw growing text. Yeah, it's same for me. There was Slee Stack. Oh my gosh, who else? So I started up shortly after What the Fungus did. Eric Myers had started a channel right about the same time I started one. But when I first started growing mushrooms, Slee Stack's rule was growing, and I think all of his videos were, he either took them down or they were taken down. Oh my gosh, there were others. I just am having a hard time remembering. But yeah, there just wasn't much. Captain Planet. Cooking and working on orders. Yeah. That's it's just wow. I watched the Rick and Morty episode where he gets with the chick that's like Captain Planet, and it's a funny episode. You ever watch Gundam Wing or the Legendary? I'd never watched either one of those. I always wanted to, but Gundam was already off by the time I got home from school, and I think Dragon Ball Z. I think that one had just ended by the time I got home riding the bus or something. Tomato, lettuce, ketchup, and mustard too, please, with that cheese over here. Or should we? Yes, we are. If you're gonna come, Lee, you gotta come. Like I'm gonna be there early. I forgot. Actually, I'm not fishing tomorrow. That was last Friday. I have a doctor's appointment at 11 a.m. tomorrow. So, Got to go in for a wellness visit. Go get my blood pressure and all that stuff checked. Gargoyles! Oh, that was such a great show. And the Batman at that time with Mark Hamill as the Joker. Whew. And this is just descending into a cartoon show. The dude who used his over as a oven as a float. Yes, I remember that. Gosh, I'm glad you brought that up. Uh, I used to watch him on YouTube. Yeah. Oh my gosh. There was also Let's Grow Mushrooms with oh, I forgot who made that. Forgot about Gargoyles. That's a classic. Teletubbies. Oh my gosh, there's who knows where that is? I'm gonna have to look now. You're making me think. Somebody in my Discord is Jesse Campbell, I think, made a little short, and it's the Teletubbies intro with the sun, but the sun coming up is Paul Stamets's face. And I tried to use that in a video one time, and I got copyright strike immediately, and it would like I had it appealed, and it still didn't work. The appeal didn't work. I've got no idea where that's been years ago. That's been like 5 years ago. Who knows where I put that? Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. I was gonna look and see if I could find it real quick. See if it still existed in my downloads folder, but oh, I don't even think I had this computer at the time. Yeah. Yeah. Barney, don't forget loving purple dinosaur. Yeah, my brother had a Barney stuffed animal, and it would be in the closet, and it would just randomly start talking. And we got so creeped out by this thing because he was supposed to touch, you're supposed to touch a button on his hand, and for him to say something. But oh my gosh, that thing creeped us out because we shared a room at the time, and the thing would just start talking in the closet and laughing. And you're like, what in the world is going on? Crap, I was afraid it was supposed to be last Friday, but I was hoping it was tomorrow. My bad, Smurfs, if it hasn't been mentioned. So, Smurfs is a good one, yeah. But as far as fishing goes, it should be every Friday, and I need to go. I've not done the lake this year, and I've not gone fishing hardly at all. When I was working on a Gundam model, that's a lot of pieces, 1,600 pieces. Heck yeah. Transformers. Oh, Beasts. Transformers, the Beast, not bestiality. Oh my god, the Beast, not Beast Mode. What is that? Oh gosh. Transformers was definitely good. The one with the dinosaurs, though, I watched that one. I remember that one. All right, guys. Be right back. Ooh, oh my goodness.
Faster, faster. Hold, wait for it. Strongest stir plate ever. Push it, test it, break it, better. Strongest stir plate ever.
I like that song. I've got a couple more sponsorships I've still got to work on, get loaded up here on the streaming software, but have not done it yet. 1,600 pieces. Wow, that must be fun. And I don't know. I've never been that kind of guy. Like, I used to put models together, and it used to drive me insane. I liked the models, but I'm not big on building them, and I didn't like all the intricate, like, tiny stuff. Yeah, you killed me. I got into Ancient Aliens for a while. I only know the meme from that. I've never seen that show. That sounds hilarious though, and I wonder how much of it is yeah. So We the only family who gathered around the ABC channel every Friday night for Step by Step, Growing Pains, Family Matters, and Step by Step to play on TGIF. Nope. I thought somebody else said something about that. Was that you that said that earlier? Someone else said something about it. But yeah, we used to watch like Home Improvement. There was another one. What was the one with Topanga? Was that what show had Topanga? Boy Meets World. Yeah, and I had a huge crush on her growing up. Which I mean, what boy didn't? So, yeah, no, I mean we watched all that stuff. Family Matters. I liked. This one was Steve Urkel, right? Yeah, I loved TJIF growing up. That was a good thing. Man of War commercials awesome. Well, thank you very much. I worked on that for a while actually. That was that. There is deceptively more work in that commercial than what you might think. Like it's for as short and as simple as it is. I definitely had I had hours into that commercial, like a good 3 or 4 at least. Not to mention all the like I had to film that over and over and over again to get it the way I wanted. That song was a banger. Yeah, man. Did I do that? Yeah, that was such a great show. Boy Meets World. It's Steven. Who's Steven? Stefan. Oh, Stefan Urkel. Steven Urkel. Stefan Urkel. Well, it makes me think of he had a vision. Who was it? Kubrick that would do scenes over and over and over again. And me, I was just like, I want the star bar to dance. I want it to dance, and then I want it to grab. I have a very specific vision for this. Ben had a very specific vision. He's the one that had me do it. But those were the days before computers and internet became affordable for the average person. TV shows were king back then. Well, yeah, and then you had the TV, and now everybody's got their phone, so everybody's in a different room or whatever, watching their favorite piece of media. And Aislinn and I had started watching stuff. We got halfway through the new Frankenstein, and I didn't finish it. So I need to get her and just be like, let's finish this. And actually, maybe we need to restart it at this point. But Aislinn and I we were watching a lot of classics. So I watched Lawrence of Arabia. Turned out to be a great movie. I have not seen what's the Cleopatra one? Is that just called Cleopatra? Anyways, yeah, there was a bunch of stuff. Like there's a bunch of classics and stuff that we want to see. All right. Sitcoms and cartoons when MTV played music. Yeah, no kidding. I remember when that started happening, and MTV is like it was just the top 10 all day long, over and over again. What you eating? Burger? Burger doesn't need to be chewed that much. You're chewing awfully long. What is that? Pickle? Okay, that makes more sense. Looks like a mighty fine burger. All right, guys. Well, since the mushroom questions have calmed down, I think I'm going to go grab some burger myself. And then I've got 2 fish tanks that I've got to set up. And some fish I've got to transfer. And then some stuff I've got to pull for orders. So we're going to have to get to it. Real world and road rules is to blame. Oh, what was that one cartoon? Monsters. That one was one of my favorites. I always considered, the guy with the eyeballs. I always really just related to him. Oh, man. All right, guys. Thank you very much for hanging out. It was a good stream. I look forward to seeing y'all next week. It'll be July 16th. And this weekend I don't have anything, but the next weekend we have the East Tennessee Aquatics Association meeting, and Samantha and I have a special tour we're going to go do of CFI, Conservation Fisheries Incorporated. So we're going to be very, very happy. Thanks for hanging out with us. See y'all next time. Absolutely Plum. Have a good one. Miro says, enjoy your burgers. Andrew, it's good to see you're doing well. Enjoy the grind. Thanks, Miro. You too. Enjoy, everybody. Keep spawning culture.